Okay, so I'm going to go through the core activation separately, and the reason for this is that I just feel like a lot of people don't engage their core properly when they're doing exercise, and as a result, they don't necessarily get the most out of their exercises, but also it can just put more pressure down on our pelvic floor if we're not engaging it properly. So basically, we have 4 exercises as our core activation. We're going to have our diaphragmatic breathing, we're going to have our supine knee presses, we're going to have V lean backs, and we're going to have glute bridges, okay? Obviously, the glute bridges is going to include glutes too, but I'm going to give you some techniques to help fire up parts that will help your pelvic floor fire up. So diaphragmatic breathing is essentially how I want you to be breathing through basically every exercise you do, okay? This is basically where we're going to focus on inhaling, filling everything up with air, and then on the exhale, we're pulling our pelvic floor, pulling our core muscles in, and so forth. So we're going to start off with that today. We're going to start with it lying on the floor. The first thing I kind of want to go through, though, before I even sort of lie down, we're going to do it lying down today because it's just an easier way to start. However, if you want to do it seated, standing, split stance, whatever way, it's great to practice it in all variations, okay? The first thing you really want to focus on when you're breathing is that you are, when you inhale, that you are not just filling your belly up with air, filling your chest up with air, but that you are like filling your lats up with air. You're filling into your ribs, your back. So a lot of people do struggle with this. A lot of people do a lot of front breathing. There are tips and tricks that you can do. For example, if you are a very big, like sort of belly breather, chest breather, actually having your hands in front and then breathing like this kind of forces you a little bit more to breathe into your lats. Sometimes I find that people like lying on their side, like so, can kind of help getting breathing into their ribs. So, play around with different sort of ways to breathe, whatever works for you. But we are going to start off with lying on our back, okay? You are going to inhale, filling that up with air, and then on the exhale, you want to think pelvic floor, lower core, middle core, okay? So pelvic floor. My favorite, as I said, always is trying to link your pee hole and your bum hole together. I find that you get a very good pelvic floor contraction that way. Other ones are just like trying to suck air in through a straw. Another one is essentially called zip your clit. So whatever cue works for you, look them up on the internet if you don't find that what I've said, any of them work for you. But that is going to be like the initial way of trying to get your pelvic floor engaged. Then we kind of want to get those lower abs engaged. So that is what we're really thinking of, these sort of where our hip bones are and getting those abs to fire up. So I think a really simple one there is trying to squeeze into jeans that are too small. And then obviously for your middle core, is kind of the cue is kind of bringing your belly button in and up towards your heart. But I actually want people to focus on that really right at the end, because I find that most people focus on the belly button because it's just so much easier to just essentially suck in and forget the lower core. So really focus on the pelvic floor, on the lower abs before we do anything. So for that, you basically can lie down. I like to lie down, feet bent, comfortable. I like to have a hand sort of on my rib cage, a hand on my sort of lower stomach near my pelvis so I can feel my pelvic floor engaged. And then you're going to do a big, deep inhale. And then the exhale, focus on that pelvic floor, focus on those lower abs. With your hand there, you should feel that your stomach has flattened and that you are not pushing against it. If you feel like you are bulging out, that you're pushing against, then you are not engaging your pelvic floor, but rather you are putting pressure downward. And so as a result, you aren't actually doing the exercise properly. So really take your time to practice this. Inhale, exhale, engaging those lower abs, okay? Inhale, exhale, engaging those lower abs, okay? So we're gonna do 6 to 8 breaths like that. Then we're gonna go into some knee presses. So this is a great way to activate our core without really having to do anything. So this, you're just gonna inhale, and then exhale, press your hands into your knees. And by doing that simply, you should feel your core sort of fire up. So make sure you press your knees in on the exhale so that you're not like putting pressure down, but your core should engage naturally on its own. Then we have the lean backs, of which you can do, there's 2 ways we can do it. We can just focus on a very simple movement. So inhale back, and then exhale, come back up. So that's just really great. I don't want you to come so far back that you're rounding your shoulders, okay? You really want to focus on coming as far back as you can keep essentially your upper back straight. If you want to add a little extra challenge, you can take a little band, okay? Inhale, and then exhale, pull the band back up. Okay, and that's just great for the crossover abs around the back. Sort of like your lats sort of attached to your obliques, so pulling the band can really help engage and keep it all together and really help sort of tighten your core. So if you have a bit of diastasis or a weak core, that can be a really great addition to your to the exercise. And then finally, we're going to go into a glute bridge. Okay, so for here, you're going to inhale, fill everything up with air. We're thinking back, ribs, all that kind of stuff, and then exhale. Drive up, okay? Inhale down. Exhale. Come up. Try not to overextend your spine as you come up. Now this is where I love the Pilates ball, because basically what this does is that what I want you to focus on, if you have the Pilates ball, you can have a yoga brick, you can have a towel, and you're basically going to inhale, exhale, squeeze the ball up, inhale down. Exhale, squeeze the ball up. And basically by squeezing the ball, what we're doing is we are engaging our adductors more, which is going to help engage your pelvic floor a bit more. So you're going to be really getting your sort of your adductors, your pelvic floor, your glutes, everything sort of working in conjunction, which is all sort of part of that sort of trunk. So really important. So that is going to be the core activation part of the warm-up. Hopefully everything is explained clearly, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask.